everybody. My name is Lee Brock, and I'm one of the co-artistic directors of the Barrow Group, and I welcome you all here this afternoon for our artist conversation. For those of you who don't know who the Barrow Group is, we are a nonprofit theater company and school, which concentrates on a very specific acting aesthetic, which to help the actors get looser, more spontaneous, more like they're watching, so the audience looks like they're watching real people in real situations rather than actors acting. But today, it is my divine pleasure to welcome Naima Ramos-Chapman to our artist conversation. And Naima was an apprentice with the Barrow Group, I think in 2015. And we are just in awe of her work and all of the things that she has been accomplishing of late. And so we're going to talk about all of that stuff. But so welcome, Naima. So how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, just kind of holed up in my Bed-Stuy apartment and writing and staying creative. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. The Barrow Group has such a special place in my heart. And I remember taking your class and taking also Seth's class and just learning so much. So it's really exciting just to sort of share, my experience and like trajectory in terms of kind of that moment seeding a lot of artistic freedom and expression. So
right.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we're so thrilled to have you here, and I'm going to go down a list of all of the incredible, films and projects that you've been a part of. But so just even your first one, And Nothing Happened, was a short film that you wrote, you acted in, and you directed, and then I think you produced it, right? So
edited, I would say edited.
Okay, so all of that. Can you talk about just a little bit about your creative process with that project there?
Yeah, Nothing Happened was my first short, and it was sort of born out of, I was apprenticing at the Barrow Group, and I was also writing like critiques on art and kind of just trying to find a way back to art and not knowing exactly how to do it. But I was sort of, going on auditions, and I met a filmmaker who encouraged me to author my own work. And I kind of asked myself this question of like, what feels like the most vulnerable thing to share? And at that time, I was still reeling and recovering from a sexual assault I survived in Washington, D.C. And it's actually the reason why I came back to New York. I kind of just needed to rebuild my life. And I kind of took the opportunity to take back the narrative and kind of, challenge myself creatively to talk about a really challenging topic, but, through a survivor's lens and kind of in the aftermath and really deal with the psychological aftermath. And so that's sort of, And Nothing Happened was born out of that. And because I was acting at the Barrow Group and getting training there, even writing like while I was working a little bit, working on the script, I was just really encouraged by community to sort of, just take that next step and kind of compartmentalized. And, after I wrote it, just saying, this is my story, I wanted to act in it. And and my mom allowed me to shoot in her apartment, which she did not know what she was getting herself into. So we shot it in 2 days and then submitted it to some film festivals, and it got into Slam Dance in 2016. And it kind of just snowballed into a very influential film because it was right like at the beginning wave of Me Too, of the Me Too movement. And so I think a lot of people sort of resonated with the film, and we're pleased that it didn't central the brutality of the act so much as it centered on what it's like to actually go through that and how tragic and commonplace sexual assault is. So that's just sort of how the first short film came about.
Right. Yeah. And it seems like, and so fabulous. So, and you just made that decision to go like, okay, we're just going to film this.
Yeah. It was
my mom to see if we can film it in the apartment, and we're just going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so, so awesome. And so even just wearing different hats, if you kind of wrote it and you were acting in it and kind of watching the direction, did you kind of feel like different things were, I mean, did you like one better than the other, or you were just, yeah, did you, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. It was interesting because I think there was also an element of being maybe impatient in the auditioning process and like wanting a chance to be in something, but not wanting to wait until someone else said yes. And so it was an opportunity to say yes to myself. And actually acting in it was maybe the scariest part. Like I tried to avoid writing the monologue and like I was like, oh, I'll just like freestyle it. But the executive producer, Terrence Nance, who he had made a feature film before and was kind of guiding me a little bit through the process, he was like, no, you should definitely write it and like memorize it and like, you know, yeah, which I'm like thankful for. But that was like my own nerves. And so I mean, I enjoyed the whole process. You know, I did a lot of storyboarding. I did a few drafts of it, kind of just really challenging myself to think creatively on how to show these feelings and even show like what PTSD might look like, and kind of adding a magical realist element to it that I feel very inspired by when I read books like by Gabriel Marquez and Toni Morrison. And so I think just having like full creative freedom from start to finish was really, really amazing. And even in the edit, I actually had a lot of fun as well, just sort of really finding the rhythm and the timing. And then, you know, since then, I've definitely directed a lot more than I've been in front of the camera. But I love all aspects of it. And I'm really drawn to like performance. And part of that is just sort of from my experience at the Barrow Group, you know, just really loving kind of the attitude of like coming to the water or being open to spontaneity and really, you know, digging deep and also relaxing into roles. And so I just really just love performance also so much. And if there's a way to capture it and allow people to enjoy, you know, acting and creating art and film, like I'm all in. So I loved all aspects.
That is so awesome. That is, it's so great. And it seems like also, you know, I want to say, did you think that you were maybe 10 years ago that your kind of mission was to kind of do these transformative movies or these transformative films that are going to empower people to, you know, I kind of look at this, there's a theme of, it seems like of female empowerment, or when things happen, how are you able to transform it? That, you know, that word, beautiful transformation into something else. And yeah, did you think about that? I mean, you did your first film, you know, coming from a sexual assault, but you know, even the next couple of other films, like the second one you did, is it Poo Poo? Am I saying that?
Pew pew.
Pew Pew Pew. Yeah. That kind of a little bit similar to someone, a female being empowered. And you're not the lead in that one, right? Are you the?
No, yeah. Natalie Paul is, who's an
Yes,
amazing actress.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but
so,
yeah, covered the same thematic material for sure. And yeah, there's definitely, you know, 10 years ago, I didn't think film would be it. I used to be a journalist and be interested in mass media and how race and gender intersect and like how we can tell stories. And so I was always interested in people's voices and what they had to say and being experts of their own lives. But I found, you know, ever since I was like a little girl, just being very thoughtful about what it's like to want to move around the world freely as a woman. And so with all of my films, I kind of think of understated bravery and kind of wanting people to see themselves reflected so that it's not always like a superhero. It's not always someone who has these amazing, great like talents or power to do powerful things. It could be like someone who looks like your mother or yourself. And so that's definitely a through line in all my work, where I'm really interested in empowering, young women, girls, in just seeing like how strong they are and resilient. And I think a lot about my mom too, because she was just one of the strongest women I knew. And so whenever I'm like writing stories or embodying a character, I'm always trying to think of those choices, like, where we're dynamic and we're kind of always trying to have a transformative experience, or accept reality and like push it into new possibilities. So yeah, I didn't know I was going to do it 10 years ago, but I'm glad I'm here now, and I'm still open to the possibility of like what is uncertain in the future in terms of
Right. I mean, I think that you are just, you're such an extraordinary, vessel for just all of this, all of this healing power to come out of you, and with your work, that your work is really transformative, to really helping to people heal. And I kind of always say art can heal the world, and we have to heal the world through our art, and you're just kind of doing that this tenfold. So, which is so exciting and wonderful that you are doing that, and that you kind of articulated that you were thoughtful about that as a child, but then were able to kind of manifest that into just making these films, which is just so fabulous. So the yeah. So what was the random acts of flyness? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Random Acts is amazing. It's a television series on HBO. Kind of, I don't want to call it a comedy sketch show because that it kind of defies a certain genre. But it was the same person who EP'd my first short film. He created the show and asked if I wanted to write on it, and I said yes, of course. And it was just an amazing second artistic home. I feel like the Barrow Group allowed me to really explore, and similarly, Terrence, Nance, and Random Acts of Flyness, like that writer's room was just, all egos were kind of dropped, and we were all just thinking about healing and like, what did we all need to see on screen? What kind of conversations did we want to have with our community? And out of that, there were just like so many different short segments, and they were wild. And I wrote a segment called Nunca Land, which was sort of exploring, toxic masculinity within a machismo culture, and being very specific about, my Dominican family that I grew up around in Flatbush, Brooklyn. I'm Black and Puerto Rican. And that segment, like many other ones that also explored, thinking about surviving an assault, but maybe not wanting to put another Black man behind bars, and like certain conflicts that are hard to talk about, but like, how do we render it? And so, it was an exciting, fertile ground, and a place where, he kind of invited like, oh, if you want to write, you can also direct some of these segments, and you can also, and I also was in a few segments as well, acting, and I edited the season finale. And it just really taught me so much about what television could be, and also like transcending form, and super thankful to that experience. And it's on HBO, and there will be a season 2, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, I feel like it was like going to school, So yeah, I didn't go to film school, but that was sort of my training ground. So super appreciative, and like amazing artists in that room. Shaka King was in that room, who directed Judas and the Black Messiah. And
beautiful.
Yeah, and so it was just like all of these brilliant people who are now doing amazing things in television, film, in documentary. And yeah, it's just it was just great.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. And as you said, you didn't even go to film school, but that you're, making these movies, and learning by doing, and just, on the job, just getting up there and doing that. And I loved how you said, these films about, transcending form, Like we think of maybe movies to be this certain way. And I think that just even looking at the things that you are aligning yourself with is transcending kind of form and kind of what we think of as our ideas, which actually will kind of expand thinking in so many different areas with it, you know, healing and what we can do with art and how can we change the form up and really what do you want to say, which is fantastic, which is great. And then Betty, this beautiful HBO show Betty, which is phenomenal. For those of you that haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's these women skateboarders and the characters are so different and wonderful and unique. And yeah, can you tell us about that? And, you know, this beautiful show, Betty.
Yeah, Betty was amazing. Kind of similarly guided through just someone saying like, you should write on this show. I'm always following my intuition with things like this. And with Betty, you know, even the creator is somewhat similar, I think, in soul. Her name is Crystal Moselle, and she made a film called Skate Kitchen. And she actually just came across these girls who were skating, and she just was like, you just have to make a film about you. Wow. And she followed them around. They did a short film that did really well. And then it kind of, you know, snowballed into the feature. And then I think HBO approached Crystal and was like, do you want to make a TV show about this? And, you know, they are not trained actors, but like kind of linked them up with a coach. And what was really amazing about the process was in the writer's room, they were invited to come and kind of, you know, pitch or share what part of their lives they were willing to, and then also maybe like in their community, what issues seemed most pressing to kind of talk about. And then we, of course, you know, brought our own experiences of what it was like coming of age in New York. You know, I hung around Lower East Side, and even though I didn't skateboard, they did teach me they gave me like one good lesson, and I was pretty good. Even though I wasn't a skateboarder, I knew a lot of folks within that community, and just like kind of girls just finding their way in a male-dominated sport or male-dominated kind of like way of life, and figuring out how to not necessarily excel and be amazing skateboarders, but just figure out like who they were as individuals and what friendship also meant in embracing that individuality. And like, you know, Nina is such an amazing, funny character in person. Gabrina, Moon Bear, you know, Johnny Russell, so brilliant. And it's been so lovely to see them kind of blossom too. And they're all pursuing acting careers and finding these other different roles. And, you know, it's just beautiful, because I feel like they also felt very empowered by that process. That was very similar to like me making It Nothing Happen, where it's a version of your life that you are putting on screen. It's not exactly you, but it gives you an opportunity to kind of like, you know, have certain conversations, inhabit certain roles, and present, you know, an empowered version of who you really are, or where you wanted to go in a certain way. So I had a lot of fun writing on it and co-producing. And you know, Crystal and Aaliyah Murad, they're just amazing, brilliant creators and producers. And like, I learned so much and take that with me as well, moving forward into other projects. So yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, just the way the shots are so beautiful with the girls skateboarding, and yeah, it's really shot so beautifully. So you were also the co-producer, writing, and did you help with the editing also with that? Or
I did not help with the editing. Yeah, it was definitely a different experience from Random Acts. I think Random Acts, I was sort of allowed to like go everywhere, and this was a bit more of a traditional writer's room. Though I was on set and got to like hang out when they were shooting my episode, and kind of give sort of feedback on like shaping the season for season 2. And so that was really fun and exciting, just to kind of like, you know, sit with Crystal and kind of think about how the show was going to grow and where these girls wanted to take it.
Right.
Yeah, so it was a fun experience.
So fabulous, so fabulous. So yeah, so incredible. And just even within that, like you started out as a dancer too. So you just even a dancer, and then your journalism, and then we're into acting, and all the forms. Like I'm always saying, oh, creative people just need to be creative, whatever, whatever that is. So yeah, so within that, so what are you working on now?
Yeah, there's a short I just have out now, which is called In Place of Monuments,
Mhm.
which I dance in. And
Oh,
it's my first experimental short, and it's a Vimeo staff pick, which like I'm excited about. And so I kind of try to always make sure I'm working on my own things. And so I'm not waiting for permission to start other
right,
projects.
right,
And it
right,
keeps
right, right.
me, yeah, and it keeps me yeah, it just keeps my ideas going, and so I'm not rusty or anything. I wrote on Boots Riley has a show called I'm a Virgo that'll be on Amazon. That's shooting soon. And right now I'm in the middle of adapting a book to the screen. And yeah, I'm always working. And yeah,
Yeah.
directed a few music videos. I feel like I'm just like really interested in sharpening my skills and saying yes to opportunities that feel challenging. So even though I haven't like done them before, you know, somebody has invented the wheel. And so just looking at the wheel and finding a way to bring, my own voice to it. And, hopefully in the next few years, you'll see some films, feature films directed by me. So
Oh, we are.
um,
We totally are going to see that. Absolutely. This is that's just a given. Absolutely with that. So yeah, so wonderful. That it yeah, that you kind of sound like just keeping your hand in all kind. Oh, I'm going to direct this. I think I'm going to act in this. I think I'm going to write this. And that whole thing, like when someone said, just even in that, Betty, oh, you should write on this. So do you have any insecurities that come up before you dive into that, and how do you deal with that?
yes, I do. I meditate a lot.
Okay, so big meditator.
Yeah, I meditate a lot. Now I'm gonna start doing it in the morning and at night. Um, I try to stay connected to community and have conversations with other filmmakers who are more experienced or have a different experience. And I think the more you have conversations, you kind of understand that everyone's sort of figuring it out together, but also are willing to help and encourage you to kind of like just keep going, and really, sometimes you wake up with some negative voices and you kind of just have to like observe them and push through anyway, and just remember that it's art and it's very subjective, and there is no real wrong or right way to do it. It's just sort of like, do people connect to it? And if you can kind of don't be you usually are your worst critic. And like I've learned a lot through putting things out, that the things that might bother me don't bother other people so much, but it offers an opportunity for me to like work on that for next time. And so it's an ongoing process of learning. And I'm actually having to remind myself of that all the time, because those insecurities do come up. And so it's just like letting go of judgment and also being kind to other artists as well. Because the more you make, the more you realize, oh, people are really risking, like it feels risky. It's very vulnerable. And that's usually what makes like the best work, is if you feel a little scared about it. So yeah, meditating a lot, yoga. I watch a lot of films, I keep taking notes, and try to say yes if there's something that's like, oh, I haven't done that before, and this is a good place to sort of learn. Yeah. And
Right.
so
That's all such great stuff. And so you were with that, you were with us at the Bear Group. We feel so grateful that you were with us, at the Bear Group in 2015. So what are some of the things that you learned, at the Bear Group that has helped you on your creative journey here?
I mean, so much. A lot of what I took away, like I remember being in class with Seth, and he would often ask us like to raise our hands to see sort of what we saw and kind of show how subjective performance was, and that was actually very freeing, to sort of, I loved script analysis and just kind of breaking down everything so that it's just story beats. I still use that today, like when I'm doing auditions. And just really understanding it's not always about word perfect, although I think as you go along, you kind of get a little bit more obsessed with being word perfect. But if you can like let that go, it's so much about connecting and telling the story and trusting that you actually know how to do that. And we all intuitively know how to do that. And yeah, I think just like the art of letting go and being open to surprise and spontaneity and kind of like, diving into the abyss of the unknown is like so much of what stuck with me from the Barrow group. And actually I'm like, oh, I need to go back, because sometimes I need to remind myself of that when I'm writing or I'm in these writers' rooms and I'm feeling a little scared to like say a bad pitch. Or to kind of share, but like that's why you're in the room, to be open and to be vulnerable and to be okay with making some mistakes. And yeah, so like I just picked up a lot on that, and just even being in your class and hearing like the adjustments, I learned so much about directing actors as well, and how you want to build, or sometimes somebody just needs to go again or just slow down, or they just need like one note, not 20. Just one. I had a really amazing experience with Cynthia Erivo, and it was like, I was like, oh, what do you need? And like kind of let go of the 9 notes of over perfecting, and just gave one, and she was brilliant, and she is brilliant, and how you should really just trust another artist, and be open to like, even in directing, being open to, you planned all of this, but what is always gonna like be the best is what you didn't plan for, but you're prepared for. And so I learned so much from the Barrow group, and in just being a student and knowing what actors also go through when they're hearing feedback. And I feel like I feel like it's just so important to remain affirming and just understand the vulnerability and earn like trust, because it's sort of like a safe space you have to cultivate. So
right. Well, thank you so much. That's 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 good. That's wonderful. That's terrific. So, what would you say to kind of young people, starting out? So there are a lot of like people coming out of COVID, and people just coming out of their schooling. And here you just, I mean, I'm always going, just do your stuff, get it up, just do it. And, one of my things is how can I, help people, empower them just to kind of create their own work. And sometimes people won't go, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to do. Like, do you have any advice that you would to give to younger people, just coming into the world out of this pandemic, creative artists? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you don't know where to start, well, don't let form get in the way. Like if you feel like you don't have enough, I think trust that it's sometimes just telling a story, and that that if you are so lucky to have an artistic community that is supportive, just trust that. And I think, compartmentalizing and not thinking of the entire journey can help, like having the goal, but like letting go and just doing the very next thing, whether that's like writing or revising or, just be kind to yourself. I feel like especially in the pandemic, we've all been a bit more isolated, and it is a bit scary to come out and be together again. But it is also like a lot of fun. And I think we're all attracted to seeing other people have fun. And I think, don't stress out about it. And I was talking to another person and we were like, yeah, we have to just get comfortable also making things that we don't feel like is good. Like, just like have fun and play with it and experiment and, and also make work with your community. I feel like the people right around you is a really good place to start. And it'll flow from there. I think sometimes people think you have to go far and like, to get an opportunity, but sometimes you just need to create one where you are.
Right. It's like, here you are. It's like, okay, you're a beautiful short film to HBO, right? So it's
yeah.
like, whoa, that's like, your 2 films, HBO. I mean, you did win a lot of awards at these different film festivals. And then, you were able to be at the Sundance Institute, so that whole thing. But yes, I think that's fabulous advice, just to kind of, yes, working with your community and just starting, and also kind of letting go of that, that thing about, oh, it's got to be good, or this, the perfectionist that's in us all, that's like, oh, it's got to be perfect. It's just got to start it, get the ball moving. Because as you said, you kind of learn by doing. You just being on the set, you just kind of learned so much, right?
Yeah, I just learned a lot. Just watching people, and then don't be afraid to be a student too, even if you're directing. Like, I think, really listening and trusting people who have maybe done certain things longer than you, and but also, trusting your own instinct and your voice, because that is why you're there. There is no other person like you. And you bring so much to the table. So, bring it to the table and trust that, and, be respectful. And I feel like you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Can't go wrong. So what's keeping you inspired these days, or any people that are inspiring you, or projects? Where are you finding your inspiration these days?
I definitely binge watched Sex Education, the television show. That was great. I've watched There Will Be Blood like 20 times. Such a epic film. Very violent though. Yeah. But I think I like to also The Favorite. I watched a few times. I'm always just blown away by period pieces that are kind of irreverent in nature. What else? I mean, I really am excited to go back to the theater. It's been a long time. Right. And there's a documentary filmmaker, Jessica Bashir. I'm going to see her film tomorrow. It's called Faya Dai, and she shot it over 7 years in Ethiopia. And even though it's a doc, I hear it's very narrative and there's a certain surrealism to it, and a very slow film. And so I like to watch or just be open to films that maybe wouldn't be on my radar otherwise. And yeah, I just, I'm definitely trying to reach out and be back in community and watch other people's work while I'm working on my own, because it helps to see different voices. Right. Because then you're like, oh, right, it doesn't have to be a certain kind of way.
Right. Yeah. So incredibly fascinating, and just, yeah, as you said, kind of like transcending form, like that whole thing that you were talking about. That it doesn't have to be a certain way. And I think people are experimenting with, oh, what is this theater experience, or what is this movie experience? And I think people are kind of letting go of form, so that different voices are coming out, which is so incredible and amazing. That's great. So yeah. So what else? So dancing, journalism, Thanksgiving, cooking turkeys.
Oh yeah. My mom wants me to cook, and I never find the time to. So that's going to be an adventure, figuring that out. I don't want to disappoint, but she might have. I'm like, maybe I can order Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know. That's probably unethical, but yeah. And looking forward to the holidays.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, so also in your films too, like talk about like humor too, or like bringing humor into your work. So even like some of these subjects that are really intense, or we might go into a movie thinking that it's a little intense, but you talking about adding humor to that to kind of lift the situation or even make the situation even more real. You want to talk about how you use humor a little bit in your film?
Yeah. With humor, I mean, I kind of just think about women's voices, like, or, I think about like my mom and dad, they're in their 70s, and they've seen a lot. And I'm always so excited when they tell me stories, just because there's a certain level of no filter, or like they've gone through some hard things, but they're maybe removed enough by it where they can kind of talk about it in dynamic ways. And I feel like, dynamism is sort of it feels very human. And I feel like people tend to not really speak on the nose about how they feel, unless they've gone through many years of therapy and have mastered that art. But often, like, our body language is betraying a lot of things, or we laugh to release tension. And so, if there's something that seems particularly like depressing or sad, and it's starting to like feel a bit heavy, and I learned this at the Barrow group too, of like playing opposite, or like see what it's like to play, to just come in at it at a different angle. And so yeah, especially when writing about really hard and devastating things. When I was doing research for Nothing Happened, I noticed the way a lot of women were talking about surviving, assault, or surviving these terrible things. Or, I was even talking to my mom about a shooting that happened, and she was like, oh yeah, I survived like 5 of those in the 80s. And I'm like, in laughing about it. And I was like, Mom, that's so sad. And she's like, it's life. And so there's just, I think yes, it's sad. And the reality of how humans kind of persevere is, how do we find ways to make things light for us so that we can then process it later? And sometimes I think laughter is a way to kind of give us that breather or break to then kind of reflect on our lives. So, as long as we're laughing with each other and not at, I think humor can be a really healing component of, of art, of writing, of dialogue. And it's a way of kind of looking at the world. So I definitely try to be open to humor, even though a lot of what my work is trying to do is point at trauma, or things that need healing. Laughter is really good medicine. So, if there's a way to laugh in it that feels organic and character driven, then, do it. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think that you were also kind of saying, like, when we were doing the monologue class, you were in my monologue class, and you were bringing in your own stuff in 2015. And how was that for you? Just kind of even starting that process and kind of reading stuff in class, and how was that for you?
It was scary, but overall it was great. Like, I felt very held and supported. And it was really great to see, like, monologues can be so intimidating. You just visually see like a block of text. And I just remember kind of taking your class and being able to be led by the words and just let certain things happen, and not rush through. And so it was it was good to hear it out. It was sort of like a way to do a table read, but like for myself and with you all. And so, I think, yeah, I learned a lot just through the monologue class of how to deep down appreciate monologues. Because sometimes even with television, people are like, oh, it's just long, but I think they can be really effective in writing in general. And we're all kind of looking for that moment of like, how do we crystallize what needs to be said? And they can be quite moving. So it felt good to like get it in the room before being on camera. Because it took 11 takes and it was definitely a challenge, but it was good to kind of know that it was working. So
yeah. So great. And I think you've already answered this before, but just even in the future for these, major feature films that you are going to be, directing in the future. So what kind of films do you want to see in the future? Or what do you, in terms of this, your art form, films, what kind of films do you want to see? What kind of films do you want to put out into the world? What kind of stories do you want to even see more of?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time because I do feel like there's so many different ways of telling stories now, and like just seeing streaming and films and I am really interested in just like understated transformation and seeing like women really at the forefront and being multidimensional, being funny, being risk takers, being like pioneers. And I'm definitely interested in telling stories that prioritize like young girls dreaming. And so I'm working on that now and will continue to do so in the future. And also, kind of pushing the limits of how we think, young girls or women are supposed to behave or act or even present, because it's gender is a fluid thing. And so even thinking about casting and being more inclusive in that and how we can actually make sure that while we're putting definitely our vision of how we see the world, and it's very artful, that it also is in step with, how things are changing and progressing in our society. So yeah, I think more women, more queer folks, more people of color, more Black folks. It's an authentic storytelling, I think, is where it's at. So
right, that's so beautiful. I love that, women in the forefront, and then women are going, how do we do that? How do we do that? How are we going forward? And I think it's one step at a time, right? One movie at a time, one project at a time, and just young girls dreaming. That's how beautiful is that? Like more stories about young girls dreaming about I can do anything, or just even, or whatever that is. Yeah, but helping people, women to get, at the forefront of these stories. And that's really, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Terrific. Oh my goodness. So it's already 5:45. Oh wow. So I'm so proud and happy for you, and thank you so much for sharing all of your, your beautiful articulate words with us here today. And also with these your short films, how are we able to see them? How can we?
Yes. Oh, and Nothing Happens on Criterion Channel. So
okay.
You might have to subscribe.
Okay.
And then In Place of Monuments is on Vimeo. So if you look up Vimeo staff pics, you can see it. And Pew Pew's not out yet. I actually need to find a way to put it out, which is I'm like, I didn't forget about it, but maybe I did a little bit. It got really busy.
And then that film needs some attention, right?
Exactly. And then with Random Acts, you can watch on HBO, same with Betty. And then just stay tuned because there will be more. So
yes, that's so, so awesome. Well, again, our divine pleasure to be with you today. So proud and happy for you with all of these incredible projects. You really are an incredible voice in the artistic community, and just a vessel for just fabulous things, coming out of you. So thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving, and
yeah.
happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. And okay, take care.